Good morning. Welcome to another session on environmental impact assessment.
Unit 5 Case Studies. Course outcome describe the EA for various infrastructure projects. Learning outcome explain the EA for dam construction. Specific outcomes explain the impacts of dam construction on the environment. So, brief introduction. Dams have one of the most important roles in utilizing water resources. They are constructed long years before gaining present information about hydrology and hydromechanics. They are not ordinary engineering buildings like apartments, right? Dam projects, which are useful in meeting the demand of water in desired times and in regulating stream regimes, there is a river, right, have undertaken an important function in the development of civilization. Dams have been constructed in order to prevent floods, to supply drinking and domestic water, to generate energy, and for irrigation purposes since olden times. Dams have a great deal of positive and negative effects on the environment. Besides their benefits like controlling the stream regimes, controlling floods, obtaining domestic and irrigation water from the stored water source, and generating energy. Uh, dams hold dams hold possibilities of considerable harm for living beings in addition to their advantages such as meeting the basic requirements of the society and increasing the living standards. Nearly 700 dams were built every 10 years up to 1950s. This number grew rapidly after 1950s. While the dams were built and completed, it was observed that there was something missing and detrimental, meaning something harmful. Although the effects of water on human life and the development of civilizations are well known all over the world, it is claimed that economical benefits expected from the projects designed to utilize water resources could not be gained, and also necessary precautions to decrease the environmental, economic, and social losses were not taken into account. Right? Although there are a lot of benefits from such dam projects, there are a lot of environmental impacts, economic and social impacts, which are generally not taken into account or which is not addressed. So this is a view, right, which is showing the structure of the dam, which is built across the river. You can see the river on the other side, right? So on the lower side, that is, you see the river on the upper region. So below this, you will have an area where the water is being collected, which is called as a reservoir. Right? So where does the water come from for the reservoir? Generally, dams are constructed across the rivers, right? Because we need water supply, then only you can store the water in the dam. So where does the water come for these rivers? So that is the area that is uh, ahead of this dam construction. You will have some land, right, or maybe generally it's a forest region where the water falls from the rains, right? So water flows through these land areas and finally it reaches the rivers, and the rivers contribute the water to the reservoir, right, which is just ahead of the dam, right? So positive and negative impacts as a result of dam construction and holding the sediments in the reservoir, sediment feeding of downstream channel or shore beaches is prevented. So due to this, corrosions may occur, and as the transfer of sediments is avoided by this way, the egg-laying zone of the fishes living in this stream ecosystem is restricted, right? So sediments are getting deposited. Why? Because a large amount of water is getting collected in the reservoir. So the bottom portion, right, maybe about a few meters, maybe 5 meters or 10 meters. At the bottom, you'll have fully sediments that is getting collected, which does not flow in the river. So as a result of which, there may be uh, corrosions in the downstream channels. Why? Because there is no sediment feeding. Archaeological and historical places in company with geological and topographical places that are rare with their exceptional beauties disappear after lying under the reservoir. Normal passing ways of territorial animals are hindered since the dam works as a barrier. Meantime, the upstream fish movement, aiming, ovulation, and feeding is prevented, and thus fish population decreases significantly. So the dam forms a barrier for the movement of the fishes and other aquatic species, as a result of which there is changes in their feeding habits and mating habits. Right. So as a result of which fish population decreases. The fishes can be damaged while passing through through the floodgates, turbines, pumps of the high-body dams, drainage of marshes and other water accumulations and excavation works causes changes in the stream bed structures, affecting the creatures living here negatively. even resulting in the death. There will be serious changes in the water quality as a result of drainage water returning from irrigation that was done based on the irrigation projects. In other words, poor transfer of food and other and the increase in salt density can raise the water lichens and may change the water living species. So water quality changes. Why? Because as I said, water comes uh, to the rivers from some land areas, right, where the water falls on those areas due to rainfall. So those areas may be having some pesticides and other chemicals, right? Uh, Due to which what happens, the water gets contaminated, and that water gets comes and stored in the reservoir, so which can affect the living species. Species may change parallel to the erosion caused by the human activities or the permanent increase in the water turbidity as an outcome of the dam construction. Water turbidity is water becomes like you know because of a lot of sediments getting deposited, is not very clear, right? It becomes turbid, just like when there is rainfall and after the rainfall you see that water getting collected in small pits or ponds. That water is not a clean water. Why? Because it has a lot of sediments. So similar same thing happens here. Discharge of toxic matters like pesticides, toxic metals, etc., and their condensation in food chain may affect the sensitive animals immediately. All living organisms may expire when stream becomes unable to recover itself. The water regime may change as a result of destruction of nature. Unexpected floods may occur, and consequently, vegetation and natural structures in the river banks may be damaged. So, we are constructing the dam to, stop flooding or prevent the flooding in the downstream side. But what happens is that when excess water comes and through the rivers, so the reservoir builds up, and the capacity of the dam at one stage, what happens is that water goes beyond the capacity of the dam, and obviously the dam will collapse. So to avoid the collapse of the dam or destruction of the dam, naturally what they do is they release the water so that the level of water in the dam will go down. So where this water will be released? It will be released into the land which is lying on the downstream side. That is on the other side of one side you have reservoir, on the other side you have the land. That is you saw the picture where there was a river, right? So those areas will get flooded. You saw the river, but nearby rivers you will have people living there. So those areas will get flooded and they will suffer. So in the picture you can see that Southeast Queensland Dam management is still a mystery after $15 million flood analysis. Right. Ninth one, some increase in earthquakes may occur because of the filling of big dam reservoirs. As I said, the dam cannot hold beyond some limit, cannot hold unlimited water. So at one stage there will be possibility of earthquake, right? Because the structure of the dam gets affected due to heavy loading. 10th one, rise in the evaporation losses as a result of the increase in the water surface area. 11th, microclimate and some regional climate changes may be observed related to changes in the air moisture percentage, air temperature, air movements in big scale, and the changes in the region topography caused by the stagnant big scale mass of water. And the 12th one is water soil nutrient relationships which come into existence downstream related to the floods occurring from time to time in a long period of time changes. Depending on this fact, compulsory changes come into existence in the agricultural habits of people living in the region and also in the flora and fauna. 31, dams may store increased uh, dams may cause increases in the water sourced illnesses like typhoid, typhus, malaria, and cholera. As I said, the water gets contaminated because of water coming from land areas which have been uh, filled with pesticides and fertilizers, right? So they get stored in the dams, and when people consume the water from the dams without treatment, they get diseases. Dams affect the social, cultural, and economical structure of the region considerably, especially forcing people whose settlement areas and land remain under water to migrate, affect their psychology negatively. Right. So as I said, there is a possibility of flooding on the downstream side, and people living there have to migrate. So this causes great problems for them psychologically. And before construction of the dam, you may have to remove some of the people over there. Why? Because you're going to store the water in the reservoir, and the land area which is there, it's going to get drowned. So you have to evacuate the people, and they also get affected psychologically. So numerous other effects can be added to the list. The most important here is that we need to distinguish the temporary harms from the long term and the irreversible harms clearly. It is compulsory that the groups consist of biologists, engineers, hydrologists, social scientists, and other professional groups attend the environmental impact assessment studies, and that the alternatives do their duty in the estimation of the environmental effects. So again, looking at some of the positive and negative impacts. Flood control benefits, it decreases and remove the flood effects. Land improvement benefits, extra benefits that will occur after the increase in soil productivity because of the drainage and land improvement precautions. Electricity energy benefits because of the energy benefit value of the more economical project out of the two alternative projects. Why? Because hydroelectricity is generally a part of the dam construction, right? They provide facility for that also, right? Transportation benefits, so that will happen because there is waterway transport, providing drinking water and domestic water benefits, irrigation benefits, right? So dams which contribute to the national economy from many aspects like irrigation, drinking water supply, flood control, electricity generation, fishing, tourism are also effective in increasing the living and cultural level of the region that they were constructed, right? That the standard of living of the people also increases, right? Meanwhile, the new environment created by the dam also supports arrival of different species to the area. Dams are not only important in economic growth but also in the overall economic and moral development. In many developed countries, dams have performed a key role in the development of the underdeveloped regions. So that is the positive benefits. Again, looking at the negative benefits, some more negative benefits. Variation in the moisture percentage, temperature, and air movements caused by the big stationary water body differentiate microclimate related to region topography, right? So microclimate changes. In addition, regional scale climatic changes can be observed. These alterations may seem not very harmful for human health, but they are notable for many plants and animals. Their secondary effects influence human beings. So, birds migrate from one region to another region, and because of this dam that is being constructed, there will be changes in the microclimate and rainfall occurrence, the wind movement, etc. So, as a result of which, uh, birds will not migrate to those areas, and this has a secondary effect on the human beings. Effect of dam on territorial biological system. Biological life of the river changes fast both in the reservoir and in the downstream side. Parts of the biosystem that are affected from the dam are the water parts of the on the shore. During the filling works of dam, while the land remains underwater, the land part of the region decreases. However, the waterland boundary extends. Thus, plants, animals, human beings, settlement areas changes. Forest agriculture areas may come under water, and they'll be flooded. Water soil nutrient relationships which were settled after floods in the downstream side of the dam change in the long period of time. Furthermore, compulsory changes occur in the flora, fauna, and agricultural traditions of people living in these regions. Effects of dams on the aquatic system. Decomposing organisms cause an increase in the nutrient substances in water in a short period of time. Therefore, the BOD value of water rises, results in dark colored lakes smelling badly, enormous increase in the phytoplankton. Macroflora grow up on the water surface, which may act as a source for disease vectors. These events can be harmful both for the life in the lake and also for people fishing, taking a boat trip, and even for the dam gates and turbine propellers. The dam is a real obstacle for the animals swimming from one end of the river to the other end. The existence of the dam means death of the fish species spending certain parts of their life in the spring or in the flood water and other parts in the cross section where the river joins the sea. We know that some sea fishes come to fresh water and swim up to the spring in order to lay their eggs. Right? So later on, they return to the sea with new young fishes. A dam that is built on this way will interrupt the life cycle of these creatures and causes death in mass. Undoubtedly, there are real and potential benefits obtained from these projects like industrial development, irrigation channels and food production have improved as a result of increasing the electricity generation. Meanwhile, dams protect the people living downstream from floods. After comparing the harms and benefits for a long period of time, a decision can be given about dams. Maybe the unwanted side effects of the dams will be longer in force because of the benefits in the future, but these big engineering structures should remind us that we are not able to change only a part of the ecosystem because the whole chains are connected together in the ecosystem. Even even only a link breaking out of the chain or a piece coming out of the cork will destroy the whole system, right? So it not only affects one living entity, it affects the whole uh, food chain, including the human beings, right? So the environmental subject should be examined in detail at the planning stage. Precautions should be undertaken beforehand to big hazards caused by the most little sensitive responses. In summary, the environmental changes coming out of the dams are in various amounts and in different important degrees. It is difficult to consider the relationship between these effects beforehand and to determine which positive and negative effects will come up. The estimation should be made separately for each dam and reservoir. On the other hand, it is false to comprehend the effects totally negatively. The important point is who will do the assessment and from whose point of view. Will they be based on fishermen, based on the industrialists, based on the farmer whose fields will be underwater? No matter who has taken the decision or whom the decision will take into account, as long as the whole environmental effects are explained totally according to their importance level. So you can see that it is so many people are getting affected. The fishermen getting affected, industrialists, they are looking at electricity generation and so on. Farmers because their lands get affected, so they will suffer like anything. So while planning for a dam, we have to look at different aspects from different perspectives. We need to see before the dam is being constructed, and even after being constructed, a lot of precautions have to be taken so that downstream people don't get affected due to flooding and the living species die. Right, so some some sort of alternative measures have to be provided so that they don't suffer. So this is just a pictorial representation of what we have seen till now, right? So you can see the dam. So it blocks the fish migration, disrupts the water and sediment flow. Aging structures pose safety hazards because dams are constructed and they live for about 50 years or maybe 100 years also. So at the later stages, they cause safety hazards. And on the upstream side, you see that rotting vegetation because the release of greenhouse gases contributing to global warming and degrades the water quality, right? And the reservoir displaces communities, floods and fragments ecosystems, increases water bodies, triggers earthquakes. On the downstream side, that is on the other side of the dam, we see the disrupted water and sediment flow reduces biodiversity, communities suffer from poor water quality, lower the crop production, and decrease the fish populations. Right. So that is the overall thing which is shown in in a pictorial format. Thank you.
Thus, we come to the end of this session. Thank you for your participation. Looking forward to meeting you in the next session.